All right, we get started?
Yes, we are.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us in today's webinar. During this time, we've had lots of challenges, especially among our small businesses. They've had lots of things that they're working on to make sure that they stay relevant in this era. The COVID-19 has really brought out the ingenuity and the imaginativeness of our small businesses. So our small businesses have had to adjust to new ways of doing businesses and how to reach out to new customers. And so in today's webinar, we are going to listen to 4 videos that are doing businesses and have been very successful in pivoting their business model during this pandemic. So we have Becky, who owns the Tranquility Shop, Laura, Hotel Bothwell, and Lynette, Hair Salon, and then Luke, who owns Dog Days. So just a brief about our panelists. Becky was born and raised in Warrensburg. She's a graduate of UCM, and she has a bachelor's in English and a master's in counseling. She owns Tranquility Shop, and it's been open since 2015. And so we are glad to have her on board today.
Thank you.
We have the next panelist we have is Laura. She's originally from New York and moved to Midwest in high school. She started her first job in hospitality in 2009 and for a hotel in Branson, Missouri. And she's excited about being part of this webinar today. Then we have Lynette. She's the owner of Salon and Spa in Sideria. She opened a salon in 2007, and it opened in a small one-chair studio. She has now relocated and expanded, and so she'll share more about her business as we go on. And then we do have Luke, who is a general manager of Dog Days Bar and Grill in Ozark Beach. Luke grew up in the service industry around the Lake of the Ozarks, including coming back to work in the summers through the college. He's been with Barrett Restaurant Group since 2006. And so we are very excited to have all these individuals that have a lot of specialty in their own industries. And so I'll give an opportunity to everyone to kind of share more about their businesses and how they've been doing this whole process. So I'll start with Becky.
Okay, so yeah, a little bit about Tranquility Shop. We're in downtown Warrensburg, and it's a conscious living type of shop, meaning containing products to be conscious about what we're putting in and on our bodies. So most everything is all natural. So a lot of all natural bath and body. I carry the 100% pure essential oils. It's also a mind, body, soul shop. So a lot of things for meditation and natural ways of healing and relieving stress. So I carry crystals and stones and meditation supplies, organic teas, candles, and all kinds of things along those lines. And so yeah, that's a little bit about Tranquility Shop. Oh, we also have some services. I'm certified in Reiki and mindful meditation, and I'm a Heal Your Life certified teacher and advanced law of attraction practitioner and body code certified. Sorry, trying to think of all those different things. So I do those services, and we have a beautiful back space. I love the old buildings of downtown, so it's the tin ceiling and hardwood floor, and a very peaceful place to receive the services. And then I have a professional tarot reader that does tarot readings in our space too. So it's all been very needed in this time of stress and uncertainty. So I feel that may be part of our boost in sales is just people are looking for some peace and tranquility. So it's been nice to hear the, people's passion or just joy that we're here and their interest. A lot of new people interested in boosting their spirituality or natural ways of feeling better. So that's been fun.
Great. Thank you, Mike. I think indeed with all this stress going on, everybody needs a place where to go and relax and kind of ease off that tension.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
Laura?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm the GM for the Hotel Bothwell. We are a historic hotel. We're a choice hotel right here in downtown Sedalia, right on the square. So we actually have a conference center, the hotel, a restaurant, and a lounge on property. So multiple businesses running at once. And we're a smaller hotel, definitely cater to a lot of corporate travelers. So I would say that between all the businesses here on property, we definitely felt the effects of, it was like someone just put a stop sign in front of us. We started out the year really good, and then everything just kind of fell out. So,
well, I guess that has been a challenge, especially to the hotel industry,
Yeah, definitely an industry that was hit hard. So,
but Nate, how is your business?
It is really good now. Kind of hit a kind of a plateau a little bit. Of course, when we decided to close our business, we really thought it was only going to be for a couple weeks. It ended up being 7. With having as many girls on staff as we did, we had to figure out where these 7 weeks of guests were going to go into guests that we had already had on the books. And it almost felt like we had been hit by an Amtrak train. The pandemic did a lot of things, mentally to people. I know we're not essential, but for us, we are mentally, we're kind of that counselor-y kind of person behind the chair, and just to empower people and make them feel better about themselves. And so, it was devastating to be closed. However, we lost a couple service providers, which was really hard. We had to work into getting their guests that were on the books. We lost some. We ended up gaining some. We lost service providers. We ended up gaining. It's just been this crazy roller coaster of events. I had first opened the salon in 2007 in the crash of the economy back then. But it was new, and I was growing, and I didn't really see a lot of the effects of the downside of guests going from 6 weeks to 10 and 12 weeks. Financially couldn't afford it. So it's been a heck of a ride, I'll tell you that.
Great. Thank you for sharing. How about Luke?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. I work at Dog Days Bar and Grill. I'm the general manager here. My bosses also own Wobbly Boots and Shorty Pants, 2 other restaurants here in Osage Beach. We're here at the Dog. We're a lakeside bar. We have a pool with a swim-up bar, two full kitchens. When I'm at full staff in the middle of the summertime, I'm around 170 employees. And we're a seasonal business, so we're only typically open March through October with a few special events in the off season where we'll open it up and host some parties and things like that. But for the most part, the bulk of our business really actually comes between Memorial Day and Labor Day. We just got through the Bike Fest down here this weekend, and that's kind of an additional weekend for all of our businesses that kind of adds on to it. But yeah, we opened up in March for about a week and a half, closed down completely until mid-April, and on April 16th we opened up to dockside and curbside carryout only, and that went another couple weeks until May, when at that point it was all our local authorities and of course the governor lifted most of the restrictions. And so at that point, we kind of went back to business. I wouldn't say business as usual, but a business as the new normal. And that's how we've been operating ever since.
All right. Great, thank you. So going back to Becky, I just wanted you to share how has this pandemic affected your business and what have you done to be more resilient?
We were closed for 2 months between March and May. We closed mid-March, opened mid-May. And so during that time, I saw it as an opportunity to build a website. We did open in 2015. It was something on my mind for the last 5 years and just never could get the inspiration or the time really to get it done. And so I thought, you know what, no better time than now. And my daughter is more tech savvy than I am. She's 23. And so she and I came in every day, worked 8 hours a day and built our website through Squarespace. And that really reached out to a lot more people than I realized that it would, because then when we reopened 8 weeks later, I had all kinds of new people coming in that, said, we saw you online. And so that was really huge. It also helped because during that 8 weeks of closure, once we had a website up and then a store up, we were offering these gift baskets because I wasn't ready or able to put all of our inventory online and have an actual online store, but I felt like I could manage little tranquility gift boxes so you could get a little bit of tranquility during this time. And the support of the community was tremendous because so many of our loyal customers would then order a box. And so that was helpful for about 3 weeks of closure because it took us about 5 weeks before we were at that point. So that brought in some revenue, and then the PPP loan certainly helped. We got that loan right away, and so that was, I was able to pay my daughter and myself. I did have 2 other staff members that I had to let go because they're just, at that time, I didn't know if I was going to get any loans or any assistance. So fortunately, they both found positions and were able to be employed, but that's hard to, I can't imagine having 170 employees. That just blew my mind, Luke. I'm just like, I had 2 and that was really, it's hard for me to manage 2 and know, right decisions to make. But so that really helped having the website, mostly the outreach, just to stay connected with people. And during that time, we continued to do Facebook and Instagram posts because I thought people need to know, what we're doing, that we're still coming to work every day, that we still care about them, that Tranquility Shop's not going anywhere. We keep, we're still working behind the scenes, and we tried to make it exciting that they didn't really know, we're working on something. We're big reveal on such and such date. Once we knew what day, we could reveal that a website's up and we have gift boxes to offer. We just kept it a mystery and had people guess for a while, and that was fun. So it really kept that engagement with customers, which I think was really helpful because I even had people that hadn't been to the shop yet but were posting things like, just your Facebook alone, or just your social media alone, we can't wait to come in and meet you guys. And so that was really cool, and continued to maintain relationships and build relationships even when our doors were locked. So I think that was really helpful, and that continues to be our best advertiser, is just that constant connection through social media with our customers. So that was really helpful. I can't imagine, something like this in a time when you don't have internet and social media and those kinds of connections to stay connected with people, because out of sight, out of mind in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's
great. I'm glad you're able to reach out to new customers. So looking back, has the trend continued, or has it peaked, or what kind of challenges did you encounter, and how were you able to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges was myself, just getting beyond that fear of I can't build a website. I don't know this stuff good enough, or just what if people forget about us? Just different fears and different. If I have an online store, am I going to be able to keep up with these gift boxes? I don't really like packing and shipping. That's not why I opened up a shop. I want to interact with people. And so there were definitely just different fears. And am I doing the right thing? Because I think that's part of why I dragged my feet for 5 years is when you open yourself up online, especially a shop, I just wasn't sure I was going to be able to keep up with demand or if I was still going to like what I came to work to do every day and that kind of thing. Oh, and postage. For some reason, weighing packages and figuring out postage was a huge hurdle for me to get over. So it was several days of me just researching that and figuring out how to do those kinds of things. So just getting over little fears like that and trusting, just try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't have to stick with anything. And just reminding myself of that was really helpful. So those were huge. And what was funny is, as much community support as there was on the gift boxes, I realized they preferred coming in too, because as soon as our doors opened, I rarely have orders through our online. So I think the universe, listened to me and says, we know you don't really want to do this, so we're going to kind of cut that off. And then, customers really do prefer coming in, at least with my type of business, because it is all about energy and feeling the crystals and stones. Our shop is very sensory oriented. There's sounds, there's smells, there's things to touch and experience while you're in here. And so you just don't get that online. And that's kind of our bonus or our edge over online shopping, because pre-COVID, that was kind of the big challenge, was how do we get more people to come into a shop when you can shop online so easily and conveniently. And then also during COVID, more people were shopping online because of ease and convenience and not having to go into a store when they couldn't go into stores. But really, when it boils down to, most of us humans really want experience and interaction, and we want our senses delighted. And so we do have that edge over internet. So, and as far as is the momentum continuing, I'm not sure if I've peaked yet or not, because each month has been greater and greater sales numbers. And so, last month was a record sale for me. So and this month's not over yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to do quite as well as last month. So anyway, it's hard to tell if I've peaked but there's definitely a momentum going. There's definitely that outreach of getting more people to know about us is still happening every day. I have at least 3 or 4 customers that say, it's my first time in, just found out about you. So I anticipate that growth to continue, maybe not to the same, peak that it has been, but I do expect growth to continue to happen. So that's been good. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you very much. Laura, we know the hotel industry has really been affected by this COVID. So how have you been able to also become very resilient? Have you changed the way you do your business? What changes have you made?
Sure. So the hotel, I guess the difference between my side and maybe even, Becky's is more so that I can relate with Luke and Lynette, that we provide a service that you can't really buy online. So that was our biggest hurdle, was how do we still provide this service in a safe way under all of these guidelines that are just constantly changing. That was the thing, that it was okay, do this, and then next week, nope, now you got to do this. So it was just staying on top and educated on all of those guidelines and making sure, we obviously wanted to keep everybody healthy, ourselves, our staff, and our guests as well. So how do you do that? under something that nobody's ever experienced before. So that was probably, you know, a coming to Jesus point almost for me, is how am I going to do this and make the right decisions, you know, as I'm on the operations management side. So am I making the right decisions? There was so much judgment surrounding every decision. So it was, if you stay open, you'll have a side that's excited and yeah, we support you, but then, you know, then there's the other side that's, oh no, that's not a good decision. So how do you balance the two? As far as the hotel, we didn't really make too many changes just because there wasn't really, we did little things like making sure that our rooms weren't occupied back to back. So to let different guests know and feel safe, installing hand sanitizing stations, partnered with some of our local vendors to make sure we're using the right products and make sure that our staff is trained in the cleaning procedures, because that was pretty important. Most of our travelers are corporate, so that did obviously drop off quite a bit because the corporations had, that was the first thing they did, was immediately halt travel. So the, you know, safety wise and then also just budget wise, that was the first thing that went. So us, we're on a popular bicycle trail here in Sedalia, and so, you know, we usually have a good number of groups that come in for that, and basically lost all of that this year. And then also any events. So the whole event industry changed. These, you know, it was growing to these large, extravagant events. That was the trend. And so that was great for us. And then all of a sudden, obviously that, you know, went off completely. So we saw a lot of pivoting to more of like, they wanted to have the small events, but then they still wanted to share those events with their family and their friends. So how do you do that? So we've seen a lot of digital and virtual events happening. So, you know, us being a historic hotel, they didn't really build us back then for a lot of this audio visual requirements that people need these days. So how do we do that? So it did require a little bit of ingenuity on that part, but then also catering to those, and then setting it up to where people could still have, so I wrote down guest interaction because that was a key when Becky said that, that really struck home in multiple ways here with us. So, you know, people do want that human interaction. So how do you provide that? These brides, I'm sure Lynette can relate, had planned these events from hair to makeup to food to drink,
parties,
music to setup. I mean, for some of these brides have been planning for years. So then all of a sudden it's trying to relate to them and sympathize with them that, hey, this is what we can do within our constraints, you know, but we also want to, we know that they're under a lot of stress too. So definitely things like that on the hotel side. The restaurant side, I think, was where most of the changes went. So we did shut down the in-room dining. So our restaurant is a fine American fine dining. So we quickly realized that with people losing their jobs and getting hours cut, that that was not something maybe that was going to fit within what was going on. So we quickly identified, what can we do? So we did want to still provide that quality food, that quality experience, but within people's budgets, and still, you know, have that ability to maintain our customers and bring them comfort as well. So we did change our entire menu. We switched to complete carry out, curbside. DoorDash was amazing. They offered some really good pricing and specials for people the first couple months that this started, so way back when. So we immediately signed up with them so that we could provide that. The curbside was huge. People loved that. We had our, you know, we were able to keep some of our staff by doing that, which was really helpful. And then also, so one thing that we did was we knew going in, it was, I'd say the thing that we learned quickly was being able to stay ahead of maybe trends, or staying ahead of anticipating what changes are coming. So as everybody remembers, the first thing that went was toilet paper. So what did we do? We immediately started buying up toilet paper for the hotel, because we know we're not closing. And that's not something people are going to understand that we don't have. So we quickly did that. Even if you remember with the food, so it was getting harder and harder to find. Even chicken was going up, and that's something, you know, that was never the case. Hamburger was hard to find. So we basically changed our menu to kind of comfort meals is where we went, and providing those things that people maybe can't find in the grocery store, but still want to bring some kind of comfort home to their kids who are now out of school and their, husbands or wives who are out of work. So we quickly did that. We dropped our menu considerably. So we had just a small menu, and then our pricing. We also did modify our pricing for everybody so it was affordable, but still a good quality home cooked food. We did go out to local businesses. So we had never offered a delivery cater service before, but we did go out to all the local businesses. So our area is big on manufacturing industries. And so those people were still working through this whole thing, but were constrained, even offices, healthcare professionals. There's quite a bit in our community of those different industries. So they were constrained and not able to leave their property. So how do they also get food, get meals? They're working double shifts. A lot of people are missing, a lot of people are out. So how do we get that to them? So we did go around and offer just a special menu to only for local businesses. We delivered that, hand delivered it, explained it, and then offered basically a delivery service that we would bring the meals to them so that their employees and workers were still able to enjoy that at work and get some kind of break at work and not have to get out to get it. So I think that those were our biggest changes that we made here on property.
Right, thank you. Just following up, you said you had lots of changes, especially deliveries and curbside. Do you anticipate that to be the new norm moving forward, or will you go back to what you've been doing previously?
Right. So we do see a lot of carryout where before we really didn't have, that wasn't a main aspect of our business. We didn't do a lot of that. So there is still people who enjoy the food. We've, rolled out, we've opened up. Obviously we opened up in June. One thing I did miss is that we did build a fantastic outdoor seating area. So that was something that right before we opened, we quickly scrambled and got that built so that was another thing where people, because we knew and we saw that the people were wanting to get out. People are wanting to kind of interact and they're wanting to get back out, but they're still leery. So we built that outdoor seating area, and that is probably the biggest seller that we've had so far. People love the ability to get out and eat, but still not have to be inside and indoors. And so that was something that's definitely changed. We had never had that before. So, and we do still see, we're starting to see more people come through the doors, more sit downs. But I do still see that there's quite a few people who do opt to have that. We don't do the DoorDash so much anymore, but we do the curbside and the carry out. So that is something that's still popular.
Thank you very much. I'll move on to Lynette. Would you please share with us, the personal care business was one of those that was really a challenge to keep the doors open. Salons had to close. What did you do differently?
I turned the key and I didn't come back for 7 weeks. That's what I did different. First, I want to say, Laura, how come I didn't get catered meals while I was here putting in 12 hours when we did get put back to work? Really, honestly, with being a service, care for people, hands-on business, there was really nothing I could do. Once I did make the decision to finally shut the door, I shut the door, I let the dust settle, I went home, of course, got with my service providers to make sure that they knew exactly what they need to do as far as calling and getting their unemployment all set up and making sure they were comfortable at home with their kiddos. A lot of my girls have little ones at home. I stayed on Zoom meetings with them, let them know pretty much every step of the way. I will say that for my business, this in my bio to you, Stephen, but in 2013, I made a decision for my salon company to go to a 3.5-day seminar hosted down in Tampa, Florida, and I became what's called a summit salon. I use a consulting company, and they have been with me every step of this way. I've been with them for 8 years, so I have a consultant that comes into my company We've slowed down a little bit. It used to be every 6 to 8 weeks, now maybe twice a year. But being able to have that mentor and coach in my mental breakdowns at home, like how is this all going to pan out? How is this going to work? They literally was with me every step of the way. When we decided, if we were going to stay open, they coached us to stay open. If we decided to close, then it was, this is what we need to do to close. And so I'm very, very grateful for that company for sure. But, being in touch with with my service providers to let them know, like, it's okay. We're going to make it through this one way or another. And letting them be able to have the comfortability at home that their paycheck didn't stop. They were blessed with being able to have a company that did pay into unemployment. A lot of salons don't do that. A lot of salons are commission-based salons. They don't carry them on W-2s. So I'm very thankful that I was a company that chose to do that many, many years ago, where they did have the comfort of that. So just making sure that they were settled at home. I stayed on, with the company. They led us the way through. We took advantage of the PPP loan. At first, I wasn't going to. We were going to be closed a couple months or a couple weeks. But then as time went on, and I get a call from the accountant and the lawyer and the consulting company, it's like, why not? So I spent a lot of time doing that. Staying in connected with the guest. I did a lot of Facebook posts, some videos to share exactly what the process was going to look like. It was heartbreaking the day I did make the decision to close. I'd never foreseen that coming. But, it was uncharted waters for all of us. And no one really even knew what it was all going to look like. And as the owner, you kind of feel like that weight is on top of you. And like Laura said, having to make a decision not only for yourself, but for the company as a whole. And now you've got staff members that are out and, don't know when we're going to be able to pull them back into employment. For us, we had guests freaking out. When are you going to open? My gray's an inch thick, and I just don't know what I'm going to do. To just really just a crazy time. But learning through the whole process and just embracing that this is going to pass. Our old normal is gone. I don't think this is our new normal. Anticipating a good new normal. A lot of people, I think, have kind of dug into themselves and realized what's important, what's not important, spending time at home with their families, going on walks, remodeling their homes. I mean, I just seen all kinds of amazing things that were happening in that stay-at-home time. I personally only got about 2 weeks of chill time because then, you got to gear up to get back open and you got to have all your signage and our health department had all criteria and all this stuff for us, and we had to make sure this was posted here and that was posted there, and keeping the girls in the salon to know exactly what's going on, and also with the guest on the external. The only thing I found, the gift bags and stuff, I think are really awesome. Becky, that was a fantastic idea. I think we just have to we had to really get outside of our box to figure out what we were going to do to even remotely get any type of revenue in the company. So I did curbside pickup on hair products and things like that. But as far as, services, I couldn't do that. I did have a couple guests reach out and ask for color formulas. Well, that's a professional product and I can't sell that, out the back door. And, can you please just get me a haircut? It's not worth my business license or my professional license, to do that. So I think it was all in perspective for me. Yes, it was not, it's been crazy, but at the same time, I think if we find the silver lining in things, people were spending more time with their families. They weren't going out a lot. They were playing ball. I think it could all be in perspective, and some of it coming back was definitely a train wreck. Like I said, we lost 4 service providers. Those guests had to go somewhere. So some of our girls had to pick up extra hours and extra shifts, and we just had to make it work. The downside to some of that is Some of our guests did get missed, and we have lost some. I think in our industry and some service providers. Following our consulting group, it's been happening all over. In that time, people were kind of soul searching. Is this really the salon company I want to stay at? Has my leader or my boss, per se, have they given me everything that I've needed to feel comfortable in getting through this as well? Or did they just like shut the doors, quit communicating with them, and then one day, 6-7 weeks later, like, okay, the salon's going to open back up. And then they're reevaluating, talking to other service providers on what companies are offering different stuff. And so they're kind of scrambling as, am I complacent where I'm at? Is this boss really for me? Is it just gone that they're kind of selfish? So our whole industry has had this whirlwind of providers leaving to the guest. You know, maybe they're reevaluating. Was I really in love with the experience I was getting there? Do I really love it there? Maybe they couldn't get me in when I needed in, so I tried another company. I mean, it's been crazy, honestly. But yeah, like I said, I am so grateful to have a consulting company that had led me through the whole way. I mean, honestly, I said a lot. I don't know what I would be as a salon owner had I not had someone to turn to, for questions and answers. And it was uncharted for them. I've asked them questions many times, and they always have an answer. But there were times in this pandemic that you just didn't have an answer, and the answer was go with your gut. It's like, okay, what's that? So we're back up on the roll. I mean, we've taken on new guests, we've lost some, and it's okay. It's okay. We have seen numbers that we had never seen before, whether it be because the provider was overworking hours or we were just making it work. In the beginning, we weren't doing shampoos, blow dries, and styles, which most guests really didn't care. A few did, but we maybe had seen bigger numbers then also. We opened May 8th. Bigger numbers then because it takes 45 minutes to an hour to do a blow dry, shampoo, blow dry style, where we were just getting the guest in the door. Had about 720 that we had to get fit in to a schedule that had already been booked out. So I'm just one of these. Find the silver lining, and we just keep trudging through. I mean, what do? You can't quit. So it's been a roller coaster for sure.
Thank you very much. So with the new norm, as a follow-up, with the new norm that we have for social distancing, how you restructured your business,
So with the 6-foot distancing, what we got from Pettis County Health Center is a module of figuring out how many guests could be in your salon, spa, or tattoo industry is also a part of us as well. So we have a very large location of 3,000 square feet. We have a 1,700 square foot spa, which on the spa side, we have 4 different treatment rooms. So they're already set off anyways. I mean, of course, the cleaning and the disinfecting and all that we had enhanced for sure, but the spa side was kind of on its own. In the salon side, the way our stations are set up, they're not directly side by side. We have 4plexes, and they are 6-foot distancing. So where a provider is, now we have 4 in the middle that are not. So we utilized only 6 of them. And most of our girls don't all work at the same time. We work a double shift. So we work 9 to 3 and 3 to 8. So in the morning, we may only have 4 girls here. And at the night, we may have 5 or 6. Or it's her days off. So we were able to really stagger and make sure we were able to have 17 people in our building at one time, which of course, we did temperature checking, and we had a station set up front for hand sanitizing as soon as they came in the door. We provided masks for guests. Now guests, a lot of them have their own mask, but we do still have a box if they if they want one or not. But that's how we kind of worked around the 6-foot distancing, is we just was really mindful of how many guests were in the salons, how many service providers we had. But the way our stations are set up, it wasn't really effective to us except for those 4 in the middle. So we only utilized 2 of them. And then our shampoo bowls, they're not 6-foot distancing, but we have 5 of them. So we were able to stagger and pay attention to, using the FAR 2 or the FAR 3 or whatever, and not having them directly back to back.
All right, thank you. I'll move on to Luke. We know that the Ozarks region is basically a service industry that was really challenged with this whole pandemic. We just want to hear your experience and what did you do differently and how are you coping with this whole situation?
Yeah, sure. As I said in the beginning, we opened up in March. Our restaurant family has 3 restaurants in it: Dog Days, Wobbly Boots, and Shorty Pants. Wobbly Boots is the one that stays open year round. It's a barbecue restaurant that's not on the water. So we were, sorry about that phone ring there. So we had to close down in March. All 3 of our restaurants shut down, and that's when we started kind of evaluating how we were going to proceed forward, because we understood that curbside and then for our lakeside restaurants, dockside carryout was going to be the new revenue model for us. And Wobbly Boots is a little bit more equipped for that. We do quite a bit of carryout of food out of there full time. Our other 2 restaurants, our menus aren't really designed for that. Our all of our structures, our packaging, we just didn't have a lot of that infrastructure in place. So we kind of used that time when we were closed to kind of beef that up and and test out some new products as far as what might be better to go versus things that like a plate of nachos. A large plate of nachos doesn't really travel well, so we had to kind of figure out how to package those kind of things and allow that, and that was kind of on the fly there. As I said, once May rolled around and we were kind of back to normal business, we made several changes about the way we were operating as a business. One of the major changes is a big part of our business model at Dog Days is live entertainment, and that industry obviously took a whole hit because large gatherings and things like that were kind of a thing of the past, at least for the temporary, hopefully temporary. So we moved all of our entertainment outside. We have an outdoor stage that we didn't really utilize nearly as much. So we brought our entertainment outside. That gave people plenty of room to kind of spread out and still enjoy the music. We have a great advantage of having a vast majority of our floor plan is all outside, various decks and levels and things like that. So we took a lot of tables and chairs out in the very beginning, took a vast majority of the ones from our inside dining out. And we don't really use that nearly as much now. On the peak times when we're kind of using everything, it kind of we did use but we just did our best to kind of spread everybody out, hand sanitizing, and all the things I think everybody else has kind of discussed. But I think the biggest challenge for us this season, one of the biggest challenges for us this season was the fact that as I said before, we have about 170 employees here at Dog Days. Around 75 to 80 at the other 2 places. It's around 300 between all 3 restaurants, and and our range goes from anywhere from like a 14-year-old busboy all the way up to some of the ladies in our t-shirt shop who are basically retired and doing this as a second career, or not really career, just like a part-time job in the summertime. But the real meat of our staff comes from mostly college age and high school age kids. And so the springtime is really our big training period. Oftentimes when we hire a college student, you bring them down during the school year in the spring, like in March or April, and they come down and they work a Friday night, they work a double on a Saturday, and then they work a Sunday morning shift. And that's kind of their initial training period and kind of a tryout period. And then you kind of at the end of the weekend kind of determine if they need more help or if they're ready to go and things like that. But basically it wiped out our entire training period. So then once some of the restrictions were lifted and we were allowed to get back to kind of business as the new normal, we had to train on the fly. That's just not really the way we like to do things. It's a lot easier to train in the spring when the volume's down and you can really kind of work with these people. Now, The good news for us was so much of our staff, as I said, are college age students and things like that. So hopefully you hire somebody in their freshman or sophomore year in college, and you get to keep them for a couple years. And then once they graduate and they maybe move on to the bigger and brighter things, you kind of lose some of those folks, and that goes in cycles. Well, I had two things working in our advantage. One, we were on one of those cycles where I had a lot of folks returning anyway. So I had a pretty experienced staff coming back for this season, just built in. And then a number of my folks who had maybe planned on getting an internship or planned on getting hired on in a new career, their big kid job, as they like to call it. Those opportunities, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for us, were canceled. Internships were canceled or postponed or things like that. So I had a large number of staff who we anticipated losing for the summer of 2020, but instead they came back one more summer. And to have those leaders around, those experienced folks, really kind of helped us get through that portion. But either way, we have so much turnover. I had to train, and I was just hiring on the fly. We try to get most of our hiring done before Memorial Day weekend. But since we didn't know what to anticipate, and since our doors were closed for 6 weeks, basically, and didn't really feel comfortable interviewing people and things like that, we didn't know, and I couldn't offer jobs to anybody. And so we had to staff go, luckily I had a built-in pretty good staff. We had to staff up on the fly, and really kind of find folks and kind of sort through it in the midst of, once we started to get, as you may know, some national attention for the Lake of the Ozarks, we really saw our customer base expand and grow, and people were coming from all over. Early on, some of the phone calls and social media requests we got were pretty interesting. As people from the surrounding areas where maybe the restrictions were a little bit more and a little bit more stringent, and places were shut down. So we had folks coming from all over, from different states, to come to the lake. And so it was a whole, not only, you didn't have your regular customers as much, you had new folks, and you kind of had to train the customers a little bit about what the lake was about, what we had to offer, how things go. And that was an interesting thing, but I think it's one of those things I think is going to pay dividends for us long term. So many people got to come down and experience what we have to offer down here, who may not have otherwise come here. Earlier you were talking about the wedding business, and we've got a bunch of bachelorette and bachelor parties this year who were planning to go to somewhere like Nashville or another area that they weren't able to go there, so they came to see us, and so it exposed not just our business but our entire community to a group of folks that may otherwise have never come here or even considered us as an option. And I think once they come here, I'm pretty proud of what we do as a community and our business in particular, and I think we show them what we have to offer, and they want to come back and be a part of it down the line. Several large events. We canceled most of our personal large events, our business events that we have. Aquapalooza is a big one for us. We canceled it. But other events nationwide, whether it's the Grand American Trap Shooting Association, like I said, several weddings and things like that, all moved to the Lake of the Ozarks, and we were able to take advantage of that best we could. But it was a challenge for sure as the season progressed. And it seemed like every day, I've worked in the restaurant business since I was a little kid, and I thought I'd seen everything, but this summer has brought things to me that I never thought I would have to.
All right, thank you. So in the interest of time, I would like to open up this to the audience. I don't know if we have any questions in chat.
Hi, Stephen. We haven't received any questions yet, but I did just post in the chat that people can either ask in the chat or they can ask verbally. If they just unmic themselves and then ask their question, that's more than appropriate.
So I'm from Sedalia. I'm in Sedalia. I don't necessarily have a question, but what I've observed from what you've all said, and let me know if I'm wrong, but what I feel is this was not wanted nor needed, but as a business owner, I've learned a lot, and I see improvements for my company from this. Is that what you guys? That's what's amazing to me. I mean, thank goodness we are opening up. If it had persisted any longer, I mean, I don't know, but to me, it's just amazing of your all's resilience going through it all. I congratulate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Ray Briscoe. I'm over on the Holden side on the city council and dabbling in economic development. So it was just good to hear everybody's inputs and lots of good tips. I guess what I walked away from was maintaining contact with your customer base and maintaining continuity with that as best possible. And I guess social media would be a good way to do that, and your website. So I appreciate all the advice, and as I work in economic development, I'll keep this in mind.
Thank you.
So if you could go back to the second week in March, knowing what you know now, what might you do different?
I'd have fought like tooth and nail to not shut those doors when I didn't know it. I don't know. I mean, I think as humans, we want to learn and to experience. And I think if any of us could pay forward, our knowledge, just having this webinar to create awareness to others was all worth it.
I think the biggest thing is just definitely staying educated. That was, reading, and you can turn on the TV and watch the news, but you change the channel and you're going to get told something different. So I think it's just turning to, the agencies that are putting out that information for you, and, just keeping up to date on what's changing. Just like I said, with us, it was, where are we going to get the hand sanitizer that's now required? Lynette mentioned masks. So if you're required certain things, think ahead, anticipate that those things are coming. And, one of the things that we quickly realized was, even though things are opening, this isn't something that I don't feel is going to go away for a while. Everybody uses this term new normal, and I'm not sure that we quite know what that is yet. I think that we're learning as we go, and it's ever changing, but I think we can all agree that our old normal may never return. It may, but it may not. So just when these things come up, and I'm fairly young, so this is definitely something that I've never could have anticipated or been through before, especially as a manager. So just for always anticipating what can come and staying ahead of it. And as a manager, that's kind of what your staff is looking for. I always lived by this motto when I would train new managers is, as a management, 90% of it is just making a decision, right or wrong. They just want you to make a decision. And then if it was wrong, you make another decision to right the wrong. But now it's a little different because it's not as easy as just making a decision, because that decision can affect so many different things. So I think it's just staying educated and listening to your customers. We talk about social media, and one thing I learned through this is that your customers will tell you what they want. And so just listening to them and following kind of what they're thinking will definitely help your business as well. But our community has been amazing. The support from other business owners has been great. I think everybody's been there for each other, offering help. Our local, health organizations, and I mean, they're under so much stress. And then also, our community leaders and stuff like that. So I think one thing I learned is that rely on your staff and rely on your friends in the community, because they sure came out for us.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. And I can't think of anything I would have done differently. I think one thing that propels me in general, and I think for most entrepreneurs, is just being improvement minded. I think there's always change. There's always something different. There's always new things to adapt to and figure out. And whether that's figuring out postage or figuring out a pandemic, or there's just always something to figure out and improve and make better. And so it's just about just being on your feet and being adaptable and trusting I have a phrase that I say that everything is always working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. And, you know, sometimes I repeat that 100 times. It's a Louise Hay phrase, if you're familiar with that author, and kind of a self-help guru, but it's gotten me through a lot. And it's just, and when I look back at tough times, that was always the case, that only good came from, you know, there were tough things that happened, sure, but ultimately I grew, or my business grew, or, you know, like Lynette said, people were really figuring out what was important in life. So, you know, a lot of positives have come out of this, and just, you know, no matter what the change is or what the challenge is, just being able to adapt and see how you can see the good in it and just make improvements along the ways.
About that perspective thing, we could sit and whirlwind as owners and entrepreneurs on the petty party of, holy moly, all this weight is on me, becoming overwhelmed. Well, overwhelming has no action. So, you know, respecting on what it is, and yeah, coming up with what that's one thing about entrepreneurs. We just have to figure it out.
So we do have, we are running out of time. I would like, somebody was asking, did anybody apply for grants, especially the DED small grant? And I don't know, maybe somebody who, if you did, please answer that, and then we'll have Luke share something, and then we'll close. We have like around 2 minutes or 1 minute.
Yeah, I got the PPP loan, and I got the EIDL advance as well, which both were really helpful.
Right, Luke, you had something?
Well, yeah, we did the PPP, especially during that time when we were just doing takeout and carry out. It was allowed us to employ a lot more people during that period and keep people at work. But you know, I think going back to the last question real quick, the toughest thing for me during this whole thing was, I've worked for this company for such a long time and in this industry for such a long time that I'm always the answer guy. You know, anybody has a question, I have the right answer, or at least if I don't have the answer, I know where to find it. And this spring in March, I was terrified because for the first time in my career, whether it's staff or customers or anybody else, the questions they were asking, I didn't have any answers to it, because I don't think any of us did. And that was one of the toughest periods for me, was when I would have staff, or, you know, mostly staff, because, you know, you work with these people for a number of years and they become family, and they're like, what's going to happen next? What is our next step? And you're like, for the first time in my career, I actually had to say, I don't know, and I don't know when I'm going to find out the answer. So.
All right, thank you very much to our panelists, and we do appreciate your time. Thank you taking time off to share your experiences, and thank you everybody who has joined us for the webinar, and thank you very much. We look forward to more connections later in the future.
Thank you.